Just a reminder, today's conference is being recorded.
All right, so this is episode 21 of our XStepCafe. Welcome. And I must admit today that I didn't prepare anything because it has been quite busy internally as SAP in the last few weeks and months, and we're sorting things out here. Some reorganizations going on, and nothing I can talk about here. But let's just do some Q&A, and maybe you've got some questions you want to ask, some experiences you want to share to others maybe. Who has joined?
This is Lonnie. My headset disconnected, so I just dialed in. So I'm your unknown.
You're the unknown. Okay, I can do this.
There you go.
As long as there are not too many people there, I can identify the unknowns, and I can merge them together with these named ones. Yeah. All right. So maybe from IDEX, any news or experiences in your ongoing efforts in leveraging XSteps?
This is Sue. We continue to implement in more areas, and I've actually started deploying XSteps, which I had not done in the past. I was more on the analyst side.
Okay. How do you feel? How is your first impression, and how easy it was for you to go into that?
There are some tricks and tips that you need to remember, things that don't always work your way, but after you've figured those out, it's way simpler than picks were, that's for sure. But there are some little idiosyncrasies that you need to consider when you
Could you just give us a list of which tips and tricks you would consider most important? So probably others might benefit from that.
Well, we've come up with a naming convention for parameters, and to me, that's the part of it that you have to keep in your head more than I would like to. So if you have XSteps, you have multiple XSteps, and you have parameters in each of those XSteps, but your functionality is similar in the two XSteps, or you're using some of the same fields, it's important to think about what you want to name those parameters, because if you're using the same kind of parameter, let's say an automatic value assignment for the plant, for instance, something, some innocuous little field, but if you call it something different in multiple XSteps, then when you copy XSteps and reuse them and do that kind of thing, if you don't pay attention to what you name those parameters, of course you have issues. So it's one of that's kind of the part that is inconvenient for me. It would be nice to have automatic value assignments get their automatic name, so that you don't have to come up with what you want to call plant every time.
But of course that adds the flexibility there, so that you're free to choose whatever name you want.
But then in some areas you can click on the parameters. You get a list of the parameters you've defined, and then in some other places you can't click to get the list of parameters. You have to type it in. So it gets to be a flipping from one XStep to the other kind of situation to, okay, what did I call that back there? And you have to go find it and then bring it, type it in. So it's those kinds of things that I think can slow you down. The normal, let's build an XStep kind of process, create XStep, create that can move right along. But it's those little things around the parameters to me that make it time-consuming sometimes.
I think what you're referring to is there it's a little bit inconsistent in two different usages of parameters. One has a drop-down list, and one has a value help. This F4 value help, where you can also choose. Maybe you didn't notice that you can press there on that button to get the list of parameters there.
Yeah, and some of those bring in your characteristics, right? The value help is mostly on your characteristic values, and not so much on your parameter, unless you can show me something different.
Maybe, I can do that later. Try to figure out that for you. And there might also, I think there's also a reason why there's a drop-down list on one place and this F4 help on the other.
Yeah, so that would be interesting to see.
Any more tips and tricks for?
Another thing that we've been having to, when you pass variables between XSteps, values between XSteps, we've started placing those, saving those in the process order. We don't use, I think, what SAP has called an MDM. Is there a place to store a value between steps in an SAP
MDA,
place?
Manufacturing Data Access.
MDA. Yeah, we haven't used that, and I keep wondering whether we should or not. Rather than putting them in, creating a characteristic in the process order and putting it there. And I haven't seen too much about the MDA. I haven't had time to look for documentation to see how it works and whether that would be a better way or not. So we park values in the batch class and we park values in the order class to move them from XStep to XStep.
What do you mean pack values? So you write values to the classification of an order? Is that what you're meaning? Okay.
Yeah, so for instance, here's an example. We print labels, right? We have to label everything. So we print labels in one XStep, or we track the printing of labels in one XStep because we are still printing the labels on from a different system because it's certified. It's USDA certified, and so we haven't been able to bring that into SAP yet. So we print labels in one XStep, and then later on we need to reconcile how many of those labels we actually used versus how many we didn't use and how many we destroyed. So we update the process order class. We update a characteristic for how many labels are available, and then we pull it back in to a different XStep so we can do the reconciliation.
The reason you do that is because you have multiple PI sheets there, or
we might have multiple PI sheets.
Or you didn't want to make the hassle with transferring the parameters over the whole tree from one step to another. Maybe that might also be a reason why you want to keep some certain data outside of the PI sheet.
Well, actually, I don't know about having parameters that go across the whole tree, and maybe that would be something that we could learn more about.
Sure. I have an example where I do that, and I can do that here as well. Okay.
Yeah, and I did have one other question. Are you going to Sapphire? Are you presenting or demonstrating at Sapphire?
That's a good question, and I must say no, because I was not invited, and there are other people who decide which departments or which people may go to Sapphire, and even Sapphire in Europe is these days is going to be held in Frankfurt, so I could just take a daily trip there without any costs really. But even then, we are not allowed to go there. It's really strictly regulated, which is kind of unfortunate because I think customers expect expertise being there on the Sapphire for certain
Hi, this is Raghu.
Yeah, for certain topics. Hi, Raghu. And also, so that's Sapphire, and then there's also the ASAC, which is in May. It's in the same location as the Sapphire, and in fall where we met. It's somewhere else, and the ASAC stuff is unfortunately the last times when I tried to go there, it was always rejected. And remember when I asked for that inference console. I got I don't know how many it was required, 5 or 6 customers. I got their approval, and it was rejected anyway. So and so I don't apply anymore because I find that a little bit intransparent. I don't know why, and I don't know. I mean, ASAC is also it's something you're a member of. Maybe you can do something about that.
Right.
But
yeah.
it's for me it's a little bit frustrating. I mean, you call. There's a call for paper. You submit something, and then there are other things more important, obviously. So
right. Yeah.
then go. So that's there's some reasons why I'm not there again.
Yeah.
Although
okay.
I would like to. So
yeah.
That's bad luck.
Yeah. Well, I'll say something when I'm there. How's that? I'll find some SAP people and I'll complain.
That's a good one. But yeah. So are you presenting on your XStep experience there, probably, or?
SAP's asked me to lead a panel discussion on compliant manufacturing at IDEX.
Okay.
So I probably will see some of the folks that are on this call. Maybe not. And so I will be going because of that. Otherwise, I wasn't planning to go.
You will be in Orlando, yeah? So
I will be in Orlando.
Okay. Yeah.
This is Lonnie.
Yes.
I will give an update from last month's cafe. I know Sue had got some questions on the scale integration using OPC and had got some great direction to go, and we are actually in user acceptance testing right now, so we are very close to moving that to production.
Whoa, cool. Okay. So did you pick up some of my design principles there of that what I showed there, or did you go a totally different route on how to implement weighing process with PI sheets, or do you have any more details there?
What we were trying to do previously to the meeting last month was we were trying to control everything using the XSteps. And what we ended up doing was actually have a function module now that captures stuff and gives us a little bit better, control.
Yeah. That's also what I did. So, I mean, in principle, you can do a lot of things with a built-in MDA functionality, or OPC functionality, but it begins to get a little bit cumbersome when you have to do more complicated stuff, and yeah. So that's what I also did. Yeah.
Yep. So.
Cool. So that's good to hear. So when are you going live with that?
I hope within the next 2 weeks, but.
Oh, that's good news. So I'm always interested in any material, slides, screenshots, and maybe some text around it. If you can share it with me, if it's possible, without disclosing any secrets, that'll be really great. If you could share something with me for my.
I think it's very similar to the designs that you had given. You had information on
then
last month.
I'd like to see how you did it. Yeah, so that'll be very nice. And if you allow us also to show it to somebody else, it would be even more helpful. Just so that you give us the level of confidentiality. Yeah.
Yeah. With your help, I think we were able to come up with a very simple yet elegant solution. I think it works really well, and it takes care of all the issues with did I get a value? Did I not? Is the scale working? Is the scale not working? Are we exceeding our tolerances? Are we not? And so with the suggestions you folks gave me the last time, I think we were able to come up with a really nice design that is working very well. So.
Great news. So maybe we can do a success story someday later about that. That's great. Really good to hear. Good.
Hi, Arnie. This is Doug.
Hi, Doug. How are you?
Good. Just hearing you guys talk about OPC integration and scale. We're doing something very similar, but right before we call the scale, we call it with a function module, but the first thing we do is we ping the server, and if we don't get the ping back, we send an email alert with the standard SAP alert message to supervisors that say, I tried to ping the scale, I didn't get the correct answer, I didn't get the ping back, so I raise an exception, send an email message. through the PI sheet.
And are you doing that when the user is trying to access the scale, or even when you load the PI sheet, or?
No, when he hits the button to say get weight. So we've introduced weigh mode so that he has to hit the button. He just hits the button, says process and complete. So he doesn't have to do anything. No gross net tare. Just hits the button. When he hits the button to go get the tare weight or whatever weight he's getting, we always ping the server, and then if we don't get a response back, we raise a message with an email that says.
Maybe that would be also something to consider if you want to have it even before. If you have the PI sheet, which is specially for weighing, and you could also in sort of when you load the PI sheet, do that ping if the scale is already known, you would use there, of course. Then you could already do that email even before the operator actually tries to use the scale. Also maybe something to consider. Okay, good to hear. Also for you, Doug, if you've got any material collaterals for me that you can share with SAP, the ability to present it to somebody else would be really great.
Yeah, I sent you the one I did in Orlando last fall, but we're introducing weigh modes, and so it's a lot less. It's easier for the operator because all the operator knows is hitting a button that says process. And because weigh mode's involved, he picks a scale and he picks the weigh mode he's using, and it's self-directed. Yes.
You need to have some clever intelligence there behind that button, and not bringing the dump get me the weight.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
So.
Okay. Sue, we were a little bit in the middle of you sharing some tips and tricks of somebody new to XSteps. Were you finished with that, or do you still have something to share there?
Let me think as we keep going, and if there's something else that comes to mind, I'll bring it up. One of the other questions I did notice on the website that you had put an article or discussion about performance. And so I had replied
you had a
to
comment
that.
there.
Right. So if there's some time to talk about that a little bit, that would be great, I think, too.
Sure, we can do that. I'm note that down here, and after we have going through all the chatting here, we can maybe go to these topics in detail.
Yes, that would be good.
Excellent that you made a comment to an article, which is a really rare thing, and I don't know why. So maybe to all of you who are listening also later, please do use the commenting function on the blog if you have something to say to any of my articles. That's why there's this blogging functionality there. It would be really good to have a more lively discussion there. So just one remark from my side. All right. So Raghu, yes.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to read my mail like I sent this morning, regarding the help? I'm not entirely
sure what you did before with the. Maybe to the others, it's maybe could you just explain what your issue is there?
Yeah. Here I'm. Using the PPPA_batch as characteristics for one of the parameter, and that parameter is used as a planned batch for the goods issues in the PA sheet. So when you try to pick up the batch, when you click the goods issue, then it shows up the help pop-up and the material
number. So when you press F4.
Yes.
Yes.
In the pop-up menu, the material number is not popping up. But I tested with the same PPPA batch, but the material number is coming for the old method. But in the new XStep method, it's not coming. I don't know which is anything I missed in the XStep or.
So maybe real quickly. I mean, I'm not sure what exactly the scenario was with normal process instructions. Maybe you could have a look at the instructions themselves in XSteps, in what sequence they are put there, and maybe you can find a way to try to rebuild that there as well. Principle, if something worked for the process instructions, it should work also for XSteps. There are some exceptions, so I don't know whether that is one of those exceptions, but maybe you just raise an OSS message for that and ask for help.
Okay,
That would be my recommendation.
Yeah. I think that functional module pick up the value that is assigned in the characteristics. I think that should be copied for even next steps in the old and for the older method both, right?
I must admit I've never used that really, so I don't know really. Maybe somebody else has something.
Do you have an automatic value assignment for a parameter that has automatic value assignment for the material of the order?
Yes, I have the automatic value assignment for the assigned batch, and this is input value for the planned batch. This is for the goods issue. I used PPPA batch for both. But in XStep we have we can use the same characteristics for two parameters, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's just going to decide whether it does validation on the entry automatically or not, right? If you use PPPI batch and then you enter XYZ as a batch, if XYZ doesn't exist, then it's going to tell you the batch doesn't exist because it does that validation automatically.
My question is when you press the F4 button for help, it should pop up menu. Then that menu, the material number should be captured from the material, from the PA sheet.
Probably the characteristic PPPI material isn't evaluated in that context really. So that's might be the case there.
Yeah, and the line, the material is for the output parameter. That material is evaluated in the particular goods issue line.
Yeah.
But I created the same scenario exactly in older method, but it's working. But in the newer method, it's not working. But in XStep, there is an advantage. You can use the same PPPA underscore batch for both. But if in the older method,
that's one of the advantages there.
Yeah, otherwise you need to create ZPP or something, then assign the pickup. I mean the F4 functionality with some Z functional module. But here we can use for both same. That I know, but I don't know where I missed something.
Yes, I was just going into a PI sheet to see, because I'm pretty sure it gives the right drop down on the ones that we have.
Okay.
And we use PPPI batch.
Okay. PPPI batch for input batch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it can.
So
can
if I.
You can just press F4 on the input batch box.
Right, and it comes up with the restrict value range, and it comes up with the one from material.
Material numbers popped up in the material numbers is assigned in the pop-up box.
If it's on a row that we've populated the material, if we're just adding a blank row for additional consumptions, then no, it doesn't bring it up in that row because it doesn't have a value for the material.
Oh, that pop-up, the F4 is not giving up the. Then how they do the goods issue? Do they have to copy the material and paste it there and search for the particular?
What we do is they have a list materials button, or you could have it done automatically when the phase is open, but it gives them the list of materials they need to add at this phase, and then they have to confirm that. So they have to scan the label into a new material field, and then they scan the batch off the label. And if there's a planned batch, then they know which batch is planned, and they would either acknowledge that that's the batch they're using, or they would enter a different batch. If there's no planned batch and they need to go look up the batch, then they hit the F4 and it brings in the material number, and that can give them gives them all the batches for that material.
Oh, if you press the F4, it's populating the material number automatically.
Yep. Yeah.
Then I missed somewhere. I think this is created by XStep, right?
Yes, this is an XStep, but we have it also in PICS.
What's that?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
We have it also in in process instruction-based recipes. Yeah, we have it in both methods. Yeah, but it's the same. What we did was we converted the process instruction category to an XStep because we already had them built. But
What do you mean by converted, Sue?
We rebuilt them.
Rebuilt,
just to look exactly like
just to make sure that nobody thinks there's a conversion something.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Sadly enough, there isn't.
I'm your converter.
Okay.
Yeah, Lonnie converted it.
Conversion. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think for the XStep perspective, there is no mandatory requirement for PA sheet the category, but if you are sending something for external, the category is needed for example, MII. Right?
MII?
Yeah, that category is mandatory.
I think IDEX does not use MII, so...
Okay. Yeah.
Not through PI sheets yet. We do have MII being implemented, but we haven't connected it to PI sheets yet. Yep, and we'll actually start looking at that in the second half of the year for reporting and...
you saw my example and then you think of... okay.
Yeah, yep.
Good.
Arne,
yes.
Do you have any clue that where I missed the setup? But I'm trying this first one.
Just from your words, I cannot really tell. I mean.
Okay. But you checked in the PA sheet created by XStep's, right?
I mean, Sue, why don't you, if you don't mind, you could export maybe your example as a very basic example, maybe as a standard XStep XML to me, and send it to me if you want, and I can share it to Raghu if that's okay for you. Just
I think so.
I can
and
then you can try it out to see what they did. Maybe you find what was missing.
Yeah, exactly. That will be very, very helpful.
Do you also use the characteristic PPPI material for the material number?
Exactly. Yeah.
You do. Okay. So you're using material and batch.
Yeah. Maybe it's just a minor detail which they need to do. And again, if that does not work, Raghu, just do an OSS message and with that information that other customers did it with XStep, so it worked. It might probably not be worth an OSS message, so because then it's maybe just a user fault. But actually, I don't know. I'm not sure about what to watch out for here. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Sue, on your questions, I'd like to share my screen and point out some things to you. Is okay?
Okay. Good.
Good. Sharing here. It's a little bit slow here from our side. So, do you see my R3 screen, my ERP screen? Sue?
I see a blank. Hold on.
Just a blank screen, yeah.
Yeah, I see a blank screen. I see the cursor moving around, but I see a blank screen. Maybe I need to scale to fit.
No. It's maybe
it's just a gray screen, Arnie.
Okay, I'll
gray.
do it again. Maybe something went wrong. It's a little slow today. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I'll try it again and maybe see. Because I've got two windows. I think it should. Good two windows here, two screens, and it asks me which.
There we go.
You see it now?
Yeah,
okay.
now we can see
right.
it. Yeah, it was a primary, secondary screen.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened before. I thought I did click on the same button, but anyway.
Yeah.
So you had one question about, or you mentioned naming convention, and I think I also handled that question in one of my very early sessions. But again,
okay. I'd
like to share what I do, and of course that's totally open to anybody of you. And also in the SXS library, which you can download from SDN, we also have some naming conventions, which is slightly different than this what I use here. But I came up with some naming conventions. First of all, I'm using an X underscore for all parameters which are automatically evaluated, which is convenient because then you have them all in one location here to do all this assignment stuff here.
Right. Yep.
At the bottom. and then I'm using an L for local, which means it's just a local parameter for the category local.
Yeah, we do that same.
I'm using an I for where's an I here for an input and an E for an export parameter, and I'm using something like a T here, like LT, local table, for tabular parameters, so that they are all in distinguishable, and also I think an ET for export tables, something like that. And there's one special input parameter which I name with P underscore, which for me are just parameters, and they are just meant to be evaluated by the user in the recipe, but not be used as a living parameter which changes its value. So that's technically it's the same, but just for the user that he knows, okay, this is a parameter which should be then later on evaluated. You get what I mean? Maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. I put you on mute because it's noisy.
Okay. Right. So that's what I do here to make things clear. And of course, if I have more than one table which I handle here in the XStep, then I'm saying LT1 and LT2 or something like that to make it clear that which table parameter is going to which table or coming from.
So I have, while you're here, this did prompt me for a question. We have a PPPI characteristic for a floating point number.
Mm-hmm.
We have for a string. And we don't have anything that we can use for an integer. Is that correct? We have to use string for integer?
No. Actually, you can create your own characteristics. So and there you can decide not to use any digits, and then you've got an integer. You know what I mean?
You mean any decimal places?
Yes.
Yeah, which we do that. But if we're passing values to a function module, and the function module wants a numeric, what should we use as the characteristic in the parameter so that we don't get a warning message of a mismatch?
These warning messages, they are really annoying, and that's also one of the ideas I had. Maybe we could sort of customize that someday, but the problem is that the formatting of parameters is not really nicely coordinated with function modules. To really get rid of these warning messages is really hard, and I just gave up. I just said, okay, normally or usually I just use text characteristics because in the function module I'm always sure that it will work and do the conversion inside the function module later on.
You can make all the warning messages go away from the XSteps repository, and then you go to create your order, and you'll get the warning messages in the order. Or you can fix it so that you don't get any in the order, and then you get them in the XStep. So it's very much a mismatch between the two.
Yeah, and I must admit that there is mismatch, and I'm not sure whether we can really resolve this.
And that's why I was wondering if there was a PPPI characteristic for a numeric that is defined the same way as a numeric is in ABAP, whether that would solve this issue. But I know very little about ABAP, and I know just enough to be dangerous about XSteps now, so I can ask these silly questions without any conscience at all.
And Arnie, I have one suggestion for calling the functional module from PA sheet. We can have the wrap RFC that developed in SAP, so you can pass the value to the wrap RFC. Then again, that wrap RFC will pass the values to the functional module to call the functional module. So that way you can avoid mistakes.
But that seems to me that complicates things a little bit.
But for the above development, it's not going to be that much complicated. They're just getting the parameters whatever way we are doing inputting from the PA sheet. Then they are just passing the values whatever they want to the actual functional module.
So you're suggesting all values from the PI sheets are coming as a string, and you convert it in the function module.
Yeah, in the wrap RFC they can do whatever they want. Then they can pass it to the value.
That might be a solution. Yes, probably.
Yeah. And one more suggestion for the parameter naming convention. Here you have some parameters, custom parameters starting with Z. So in this name you have LT for everything. For if you are assigning the same LT for the custom characteristics, you can add LTZ so that you can find this is for L and T, then Z is for the custom characteristics.
Yeah, but I generally don't distinguish between custom characteristics and internal and SAP characteristics, because it's the characteristics in XStep's, they are just made for formatting reasons and maybe for this when you have a drop down list. But there's really from my point of view, there's no need to really distinguish them in the parameter name. But I mean that's up to you. It's entirely up to you. If you find some value in doing that, do this.
This is for the documentation for the future. Future support and development. They can just figure it out. You can put it in the Excel sheet for the documentation.
Yeah, and one other thing for Sue, I have here that's always my working horse here for explaining things. It's always my weighing scenario. You have here, so this is one standard XStep here in the recipe, and it's about this parameter transferring. So you have here parameters. I've got two parameters, and one is this P underscore, so it's a real parameter for parameterizing, giving a tolerance. And this other parameter is an output parameter, so it is evaluated inside that SXS. So it's the total quantity of weight elements, which this SXS returns in the PI sheet later on, and then I'll send it up to that parameter here, and I'll do that here, and go back here. I do that here by using this in evaluation, choosing reference, and then in the reference I can choose any parameter above, so in the XStep above, which has a similar format, and that's this one here. And then from there I pass it to that one here, which contains some reconciliation functionality, which uses then that total quantity there in that XSteps, and it has, here of course it's an input which has the same reference. So that's how you would pass parameters inside a PI sheet. So that's possible. Of course.
So as long as your XSteps are all in the same tree.
Yes, exactly.
You can do this. Okay.
You can do that, and as long as they are in the same control recipe destination. Then
so they have to be in the same destination.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you have got different destinations, there is, in theory at least, there is the possibility to have a live parameter, which you can then transfer between two PI sheets. In my experience, I found that these live parameters do not work very good, and additionally, you cannot use table parameters there. Only scalar parameters, and the reason is because these live parameters use the MDA functionality to transfer from one to another, and I never really use them in some customer projects, and there are customers who do things like you explained, Sue, with updating some elements in, for example, the order classification. or maybe a table with some key. They write something to a table and then they read it again from a table. Or in my weighing scenario, for example, I'm just using the phase status just as an information, because I send an OSS message, a process message when I close the phase, and then of course that information is also available later on, and I can read that from the order. So I think the way you're going is perfect fit, because then you have the real flexibility to also use it between the PI sheets. However, if you're really using it inside one PI sheet, this might be also a nice fit here, to choose these referencing table and parameters. You can also use table parameters there. Of course, the danger here is a little bit if you this is a really simple example because I've got a simple structure here. This does not extend over a lot of hierarchy levels. If you've got a more complex recipe, and the user have to maintain all the references, between the trees. So, for example, I'm just doing an example. So let's just assume I have an XStep, an XStep, an XStep like this, and inside here I'm doing something, and then I've got something in parallel, so like this, and in that one here, that's might be the source of my parameter, of my information, and that might be the destination here. If you've got a scenario like that, for which reason it might be that it is so deeply nested here, but then you have to transfer the parameter from here to here, then from here to here, then from here to here, then from there to here, and here, and here, and here. So you've got multiple steps of transferring with these references, and if you forget one link there, then it's broken totally, and you won't get the parameters through. So this is a little bit error prone, so that's also the reason why some customers chose not to use that inside even a recipe with only one control recipe destination, because it's too error prone for them. But it might be still valid for other customers, so it's up to you, of course.
Good, thank you. Yeah, that was helpful because I hadn't seen that at all, so it wasn't even in my thinking as to whether that was a valid option or not. So that's good.
Yeah, you should look up the documentation, which should describe it.
So you said that was in the SDN in the XStep library?
No, that is just in the normal standard documentation. It is also described. I don't know in which section, but there are not many sections. They describe how to use the parameters and how to transfer parameters from one step to another.
Arne?
Yes.
This is available in help.sap.com in the
under XSteps, and there is
the parameter structure and how they are interconnected and which one they have some like a table.
Yes,
like which one
it's got a matrix there which describes what are the options.
Yeah.
Good. We'll look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and the last point for you, Sue, was performance. So you had made a comment on my article here on. I'm calling it up here. So that's was just a simple example I did here, and my time measurements here. So and you were saying that you had this similar experience. Yeah, is that true?
Yes, we just implemented some indexes on some POC tables this weekend as a result of an OSS note on performance, and your article came more from the design perspective, how you design your tables. So that's why I was interested in.
Yeah.
our biggest tables are test tables that we have within our PI sheets. So if we were to start implementing QM and do the testing in an inspection lot, an inspection plan kind of situation where we're using QM, how would that? How should we do that? How will that help or hurt performance? What those.
Well, I mean, if you choose to move that testing results recording to QM entirely, then you probably wouldn't have that table anymore in the PI sheet.
Correct. Right.
Of course, there is some slight. Sorry.
Well, then, when we're linking out to that QM inspection plan from the PI sheet, or is that going? Are we going to see the performance increase because now we're using a different object, or how would we go about doing that?
I mean, if you have before have large tables like that, maybe not 5,000 lines, but a lot of lines with a lot of columns as well, this might impact your performance. And if you remove those tables, of course, then the object is not so big as before, and then I expect performance to be improved. Yes. Yeah. So you probably then have only a button to jump to QM. Is that what you're planning?
Well, that's one of the approaches that we see. Yes. We
have
hundreds of rows. We don't tend to have thousands of rows, but we definitely have hundreds of rows. And the bigger the table, the longer the signature process takes.
If you look at this, I mean, it all depends also on how a line looks like. If you've got only one line, then it's not has not so big of an impact. If you've got more columns there in the line, and as stated here, if you have got any function calls that are there on events or something, then it's even worse. Yeah. And just one word for why this is. You have to know that the PI sheet itself, it's made up entirely out of HTML, and inside to build this whole beautiful PI sheet design, we had to nest a lot of HTML table tags inside, and the table of a PI sheet increases that nesting number. So the more HTML tables you nest inside, and there's this exponential influence, and that's why the tables especially are, if they grow very large, might have a bad influence on your performance. It's just it's just a rule. We cannot. It's like a rule of physics. We just cannot overcome it. That's what I have to say here. Yes. One comment on your inspection handling. I've got experience with one of my customers where they had a nice link. They've made their inspection lot structure similar like the phase structure of the PI sheet. So they have in each phase they have got a jump, and that jump function is a tweaked transaction call to QM, where it takes the parameter which makes sure that it's exactly taking them to the right operation of the inspection lot. And they also took measures that the user cannot then choose another operation when he's there, so that they have this close link to inspection lot, which is quite neat.
And what is the transaction code they have it for the quality jump and the dynamic functional call?
I'm sorry, I don't know anymore.
Oh, okay, but I think.
It'd probably be QE11 or QE11 or QE.
Yeah, probably.
You go to your inspection lots.
But if you use the QE11, you can go to the exact phase. If you use the QE51N or something, you can just go to the whole structure. Then you need to select the phase, even though you are.
As I said, they tweaked it somehow. So I don't know what they did, but they did some custom function there, which made that possible. I cannot tell you how.
Okay. Yeah, but Okay, I can try it out. I can talk to the technical people. They said some technical difficulties to get into the particular phase for the other QE51 or something. Yeah. So,
I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Secret.
Okay. So, anything else? So I think I pretty much covered all your questions, Sue, or did you have something open?
I actually have one final question that you can maybe refer me to documentation or something. I had a question yesterday. We are governed here not by FDA but by USDA, and we're about to have an audit. And of course, our auditor at this point doesn't really understand EBR or PI sheets, so they want us to print out PI sheets. And so the only thing I've found is the printing functionality in CO-EBR, which for a standard PI sheet turns out to be, 70, 80, 90 pages long. So I'm wondering if we need to just create our own output format, or if there's something else that I could look at around potentially printing out the PI sheet without having all the phase, because the CO-EBR includes a lot of the phase logs.
But it is all the information which is, I think, by law important to be included, isn't it? I mean.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that yet, and that's why we don't know that yet. So they were asking me. Our business was asking me yesterday. Well, if we don't want this particular layout, what are our options? And I did find documentation that talked about creating our own layout.
Yes.
But I didn't know if that was available with 4.7 or
there is
at all.
There is, first of all, for EBR, there's a special style sheet which is used. Yeah. It's a different one that is used for the normal CO60. Inside that style sheet, you have, and that's an XSLT style sheet, and inside that XSL style sheet, you've got references to two CSS style sheets, which are only used for formatting. And these two style sheets are one for screen output and the second one for print output. And so you could use, you could change that print output style sheet to, hide certain elements if you want, something like that. And of course you need to check what are the different classes that you want to hide, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about, because that's all about XML and HTML technology very deeply. So yes, in theory you could do that. There's one problem in principle for printing in PI sheet area is if you've got tables which are very wide. Where you normally scroll when you work on them, there's no real nice practical way in printing out those tables, really.
Exactly, and that's why it was so long. That's why the printout was so long, because we had a table that had a couple of columns you scroll to the right for.
Yeah, so it prints the first part of the screen, and then the middle, and then the right or so.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, there's no way to come around that, because if you choose to have tables that are so wide, you cannot really print them.
Right.
There's no way. Yeah, I have in my consulting time, I've created also a consulting solution for printout with a different approach, which uses Apache formatting objects and created a PDF. But still, it had that problem, of course. But I could take measures there to reduce the font size inside tables dramatically. But of course, then you've got very small fonts, which might also not be okay. And then you can get around with but even then you have a limit. If the table is very, very, very large, then again you don't manage to do it. So there's really no real answer. I mean, the best way would be if those inspectors someday might be flexible enough to say, hey, I'm totally fine with looking at the data electronically. And then
right, and that's certainly what we're going to suggest. We're hoping that that's where we end up, but these regulatory agencies aren't the quickest to embrace automation.
I know.
That's interesting, Sue, because we were talking about this, and this is Doug. That's the topic we're discussing now is the electronic batch records and trying to get there, but then they want to turn around and print it out, and it's like, well, why are we doing that?
Right,
because
exactly.
if we have electronic batch record, why are we printing?
Right.
But how do you get the operator?
To convince them.
Probably it depends from inspector to inspector.
Yep.
If you've got an older guy, old-fashioned guy, you might have it the one way, and if you've got a younger guy, the other way maybe.
Right, and it's really going to depend on how much we want to push it as well. If they come in and we just bend to their every whim, then we'll probably be killing a few trees and producing a lot of paper. But if we point out that we have gone electronic and we no longer have paper records, and everything is secure in the system and it's archived and it's approved, and perhaps they'll change.
What I think, Sue, is really essential is the why are the regulations like that, and what do they really mean? And I'm definitely sure that there's no word in the regulations that says it has to be printed on paper. It just says it has to be ready, available at any time. You have to prove that what you did.
Yep.
And that you can do.
I agree.
It is there.
Yep.
It's electronically, but it is there, and it's archived and it's safe. And that's what you should try to convince the inspector.
Yeah.
And if he's not positive about that, then you say, okay, we can print it out, but it's not in a very nice format. It has also all the information, but you have to do. Then you have to use that, and probably then he will start thinking again.
Yeah.
Then probably you have to glue the pages together then with duct tape.
Yeah, and give him a big scroll of PI sheets.
Yeah, or maybe you've got a huge A2 plotter where you can print out this whole thing.
Oh, well, that's an idea. We could just get a bigger printer with bigger paper.
Sue and Lonnie, I have a question. I've met both you guys at either in Nashville. I met you, Sue, and then I think I met Lori. Lonnie, I met you down in Orlando last year for PI sheets. Okay. Have you guys are doing PI sheets with process instructions? You're doing PI sheets with XSteps?
Both. We're converting.
You are converting.
PIC. Yeah,
you are converting your PI sheets to. The reason why, and I'm sitting in that same situation where we have lots of PI sheets with the process instructions, and I keep looking at XSteps and trying to justify in my mind the benefit to changing.
Hi, I can say one of the main benefits in the XSteps is like you can have 2 PA sheets for the same phase. So one person can do the transaction in the first floor, then the same another PA sheet for the same phase can be operated from the downstairs.
Oh, 2 people will be in the PI sheet at the same time.
Yeah.
Different phases, right?
For same phase, you can create more than 1 PA sheet using XSteps.
Which might be valid for one customer or not. So that's just one. I think one of the biggest thing is usability, but maybe Sue, I think the question was directed to Sue since you have now the very experience. Maybe you can comment on that as well.
Yeah, I should send you my presentation, I guess, of why we went from PICS to XSteps. But the largest reason was support. Certainly, if everything we had was in PICS, we would have probably thought differently. But we were in a transition. We were in a transition process. We had some areas automated with PICS, and now we were looking to extend to other areas, and we wanted to extend at a faster rate. And so we made the investment in learning XSteps and have found that it is faster and easier to create those new recipes that we need with XSteps. So we only had a very small percentage of our recipes created in PICS, if you really think about it, and if you look at our numbers. So we've decided that we don't want to support 2 technical solutions, so we are going to take the time to convert the PIC-based recipes over to XSteps. But mainly it's simplicity and ease of use. You can cut and paste. it's not a transportable object. It's import-export. So there's some definite advantages to using the XSteps. And so
that is an advantage for you, because some customers really do like very much the possibility of transportation, of transports here, in terms of also validating the stuff.
Yeah.
So
my quality guys hear me say that PI sheets now become master data, and you could see the light bulbs go up in their heads like, oh no, you're not, because of that the transportation, the transport log and the change control process that you could do right in production. Oh my God, we can't do that. So that does present us from a pharma world a little bit of a concern from our guys.
So didn't you have these issues or these concerns, or?
Yes, we do, and we did, and so we had to create some documentation outside of the PI sheet that we have in our document management system, our QMS system here, that indicates what's in that recipe and how it's built and what XSteps are called and what they're referencing. We've had to build documentation in order to control the changing and importing and exporting of XSteps, which is not great, but we had documentation anyways, so it's just slightly different, and it's actually a little less difficult to create that documentation because we just take screenshots of the XSteps and the references and those kinds of things. So we did have those issues, but we don't create the XSteps in production. IT does not create XSteps in production. We create them in our QA environment where they're user accepted. We have user acceptance testing, and then once there's a sign-off, the business, our change control department actually exports out of the QA system and imports into production.
But you are validating the XSteps, the standard XSteps, and not the recipes with the XSteps, correct? So you're
we do both, right? We do user acceptance testing where we do both of that. The user acceptance testing runs through PI sheets, so we validated the recipe, we validated the XSteps, we validated all the master data, and then when they sign off that everything looks good, then that's all recreated in our production environment. So it's not the best of all worlds, but it's better than having MPIs on paper.
And with recreated, you mean export-import, or?
We do export-imports of the XSteps, but then we recreate the master recipe. We're not using the master recipe templates, and I don't even know if that would work with XSteps, but so we generally just create the master recipe in production, mostly cutting and pasting, but we recreate it from our QA environment into production after acceptance.
Interesting approach as well, but there's other customers who really do that entirely inside production system, which in my point of view also really makes sense, because I mean the validation is also a productive process, and I don't see really a reason why this shouldn't be done also in the productive system. And with the usage of process orders with special order types and the test control recipes, you can really do the whole stuff also in a productive system without any risk of messing around. Yeah,
and I think if we were not trying to extend 600 recipes by July and try to go at a faster pace, we will get there. I think once we're in maintenance mode, we could certainly move to doing everything in production. But at this point, we're not there yet. It's it's a change management issue.
One thing though, I must always warn, if you do these things and if you're using function modules, these function modules will of course also be usable in the test control recipe, in a PI sheet based on the test control recipe. And if you don't take measures inside the function modules that checks whether the PI sheet where this function module is called from is either test or non-test, and if test, it should at least not do something on a productive data, then you're in trouble. So that's something you have to keep in mind.
Right, and we do use function modules all over the place. So
you need to have that always then that input parameter, which or inside the function module something a check which checks what kind of control recipe is this.
Does that answer your question, Doug?
Yeah. I just it's that it's making that leap. We're trying to justify making the leap. So.
We were almost pushed over the edge of the cliff for the leap, so we didn't have much of a decision to make there. But so we were like, we were told no more picks. We're going to do XSteps now, and so we said okay, and so we figured it out. That's the way it works sometimes.
We learned the rock climb pretty correct.
Who is pushing you that direction?
Our IT leadership. Because we didn't want to have to support, on a production support perspective, have to support two different technologies. So
okay.
That was part of it, right? Because you have to have a support staff that knows how to support PICs, and then if you have some that are in XSteps and some that are in PICs, you have to cut your losses at some point and just say, okay, we're going to convert everything and be in one. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have an R&D department that's looking at going that direction, and we thought about taking them XSteps just because the speed of getting them up to new master recipes, the changing they would require, and that would truly send us down two different paths, and that's the part that we said we'd have to be supporting both. But right now we're just on one, and we have support of one. So.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Hi, Sue. This is Raghu. I have a question for you.
Hi.
Have you used the authorization group for the extra folders in the repository?
Not yet. We have not.
Oh, okay.
We have not. We have granted authorization to the transactions either in display mode, like the repository, either in display mode or in update mode, and that's as discreetly as we've defined. As we've defined authorizations at this point.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so I think time's nearly up, so I don't want to really break, but if is there anything else you want to?
Arne, I have a final question. And in Enhancement Pack 4, we have a baddie to send a message to the external system to discard control recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That baddie is not called for XSteps. I'm just wondering that is only applicable for the older method.
I don't know. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, I can create the OSS and follow it up. Yeah. But by the technical team, we try to call the baddie from the XStep by clicking the discard. PA sheet is not calling up, but for the older method, it's calling. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that was a real nice discussion today. So I appreciate very much this open discussion between you together. So I could lean back and just listen to you talking to each other. That was really very good. That's how I think the spirit of this cafe should be. We just meet and chat together and somebody has some information that another can use. So that's really important. And also to anybody who is listening later on, it's really a nice experience, and it's really helpful also to attend here in person, I think.
Sue, can you please send the export XML file to RNA so I can test it? That would be very useful. I'm struggling with this issue for the past 1 month. Sure.
Yeah, I just sent it. I sent it when you guys were talking about it. So I sent you a simple one.
Yeah, simple one. I just want to check it.
While we'll discuss this, I'm just thinking maybe I could also add a contact page on my blog where whoever is of course okay with it could where I could put the email addresses of these people.
Okay.
But I of course I've got for everybody who is registered, I've got the email address, but I won't do it just for all because I need approval. So maybe if you send me a mail and stating, hey, it's okay for me, put my name and email address and my company maybe on that page, then I'll do that. And then in the future you can just say, okay, my mail address is there on the page, and please use that and contact me. Is that okay for you? What's your opinion about that?
Yep, that would be fine.
Yes. Yeah. So please send me a mail. I really need your confirmation to be able to do that, and then I'll set up this page. That would be, I think, very helpful. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I think this is an extended version of the XStepCafe now, and we'll finish up for today. And I wish you all a very good day, evening, morning, whatever.